Welcome back to Gemstone Podcast. This is LP. I have Zack with me today. I do not have Shy. She was a little bit under the weather, guys, so we're going to miss her today. But me and Zack got something for you guys. Before we get started, make sure you go like and share our podcast. You can find us on various platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Pandora Podcast. Additionally, we have a little visual that will be dropping very soon on YouTube. We will be sharing reels. We also will be sharing that video via our Instagram and our Facebook so you guys can watch that live visual podcast. Now, another announcement, I will be hosting a lunch and learn on Zoom virtually June 18th. June 18th. You can go to Eventbrite to purchase your tickets. It's a limited space. We're only doing 200 attendees. It'll be around psychological equity and how to anchor your leadership from a psychological perspective and to advance yourself as a leader. Go ahead on Eventbrite, type in my name, Lance Parker, or go look up Anchoring Your Leadership, sponsored by SLC, which stands for Sarah Lenders Consulting. All right, Z, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good, man. Chilling today. Ain't been too bad. It's a little rainy right now, so I feel real good, relaxed. Need me a drink and I'm all good.
Forgot who sang that song. It's a song. It's called Pour Me a Drink. I need a woosah. I forgot who sang this song, but it's good though. It's good. But while we talking about pouring drinks, man, we were having a sidebar conversation before we start this podcast. We wanted to gain some insight on marriage concerning the U.S. population. I think the overarching question, we kind of asked, like, why is the marriage rate declining in the U.S. population? Now, we looked at some statistics, Z. Me and you just went over them and went over the research and went over the data that's provided. And it said that marriage has significantly declined from the 1950s to the 1970s. Marriage was at an all-time rate, but now it has dropped significantly. And as of 2025, only 47% of the U.S. households are considered married couples or married households compared to the 66% rate from the 1970s. Now, what I found interesting when we broke down that demographic, and me and you just was talking about it, is that I want to know what specific ethnicities or races were going through divorce at a higher rate than others. Well, Black Americans have the highest divorce rate among major racial groups, and they also have the lowest marriage rate which it means they have the lowest rate of individuals getting married as well. It says approximately 31% of Black Americans are currently married couples, and 48% of that population is not married as well. So I wanted to break that, and white Americans come second as a moderate rate for divorce rate. Higher among the rates are still higher. Divorce rates among Hispanics fall kind of between third place, and then Asian Americans have the lowest rate of divorce, but the highest rate of marriage. So the highest rate of marriage is Asian Americans. The second highest is white Americans, and then third Hispanics. Coming in last is Black. So Black Americans have the highest rate of divorce and the lowest rate of getting married. White Americans have a moderate rate of divorce, but the second highest rate of getting married. Hispanics have a mild rate of divorce, but the third or second highest when it comes to getting married. And Asian Americans have the highest rate of getting married and the lowest rate of divorce. Now, obviously, we want to break this down by genders. Women report higher divorce rates among men. What I found interesting, though, Z, is that obviously Black men and Black women have the highest rate of requesting or desiring a divorce. Now, I don't really. This is something Zach wanted to explore. I ain't gonna lie, 'cause I didn't want to talk about this. 'Cause this is pressing. Thing that,
Pressing is something need to be talked about because it's a it's a systematic issue that happened to us.
but one thing that stood out to me when it says like top reasons that research has cited for high divorce rates is, obviously economic stability and income equality, lower rates of marriage before childbirth, what you witnessed in your home, educational attainment, which is, those who have education. It says those who have college degrees get married more. Obviously, college degrees and college education in the Black population is not considered the highest. Obviously, the Asian Americans are considered the highest when it comes to academic achievement. Family structures during childhood. It also says employment and housing insecurity and access to equitable, supportive resources. So, Zach, the overarching question I guess me and you can discuss, since we don't have Shy. I wish we had Shy for this discussion because she be going in right now. Why is divorce, well, not
Oh,
divorce,
don't
but
worry, I
why
got
is
shot.
marriage?
I got her back today.
Why is marriage such a difficult thing to obtain in the US, United States of America, and specifically as a black community? Obviously, the Asian Americans are not having an issue, but it is a major issue among black and brown individuals.
First off, I'll say generically, I don't think a lot of people are getting married no more like that, but they have the right. Well, I don't think a lot of people marriages are lasting as much anymore because they have the right to choice. In the 60s, the 50s, and the 70s, it was getting married for necessities, where you got married because I took care of the family and everything. Now you get married because I chose this person and I love this person. You get what I'm saying, kind of? Like, it was more of a marriage for the family. So people were getting married back in the 70s more so because it was what the family needed. In the 60s, because the family needed. You was kind of like almost a arranged marriage, almost in a say. You can say back then. Now people don't have to have no arranged marriage. Not to say arranged marriage are not still around and prevalent, because those are still around. And people still do have those. I witnessed somebody have an arranged marriage just recently, one of my friends. So I know they're still around and they still do them. And those last sometimes longer, which is crazy to think about that. How those marriages last longer than the marriage you chose for yourself. You chose this person and decided this was the person that you love, the person you wanted to be with for sickness and health, and yet you couldn't last more than a year, 2 years with that person. It makes you think about our decision making skills sometimes. You were given a choice to make a decision. A decision you made was not the one you wanted. Now you have to go through this whole ordeal of divorce now. You know what I mean, LP?
So
Come on now.
that
I
was a
know you
lot to
got your
digest. That was a
feelings.
lot to that was a lot to digest. I ain't gonna even cap. So first thing I want to say, let me correct something because last podcast we were talking about Dr. Brian. I said something incorrectly. I said broken homes clinically are called displaced homes, and my wife corrected me because she's a clinician, and she said it's not that. But that's not a broken home. Displaced home is something different. And the correct term for that is family instability. So that's the proper term for, single parent households. So I want to correct that first. If I say something wrong, I'm always going to come back on here and correct it. So I said that wrong. I want to miseducate the audience in which we have. So it's called a family instability. That's what the layman terms of a broken home, okay? So when you say this, Zach, I think of the family instability that we have currently, because in those times that you're speaking of in marriage was at a higher rate, we had Paw and Big Mama. They had traditional roles in the house. And so he would come home, it was modeled, you know what I'm saying? And then as time came on, when we got more governmental resources, it became very apparent that the male figure could not be in a home as much because there was women signing up for these resources. And if you had a man in your home, if you was living on Section 8 or government welfare, that was something that they'll take your housing away. So obviously that impacted how marriage is, because if I'm married to you, we'll be living in two different households for. Secondly, I think that the world was a much different place than it is now. Then you can always jump in, Z. I think it's a much different place now than it was then. We had more morals and more ethics, I would say, then, that were, obviously, Papa was a Rolling Stone and things like that. But the traditional roles of a husband and a wife were well respected amongst genders. Well, while now we don't have that respect. We have women who want to be the man and men who want to be the women. And when I say that, I'm not saying physically. I'm saying more of like a psychological or role capacity in which they want to operate within. So things are much different now than it was. And I think that plays a big role. But you could, like I said, Zach, jump in.
Okay, now I feel like you're getting into more of the our reason why we're not having so many successful marriages. I
For
didn't get to
sure.
that part yet. I didn't get to that part. I was still on the generic phase of it. Our
Oh,
part,
oh, yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was saying our part,
Yeah.
100%, our part. When it comes to just the general public, I'm gonna keep it all the way a book with my audience. My concern is not the general public. My concern are the people that look like me and who are aligned with my culture. So when it comes to the general public and marriage, I think that over time, yeah, it's decreased, but so because social capital in society has had major influence on relationships. But who gets the grunt of that is the African American or the Black American community, because we have all the podcasts, we have all the media, we have all the entertainment surrounding empowering, independence and city girls, city boys, things such as that. While other ethnicities and races, they may have some of that same thing, but traditionally in the home, that's not expected. You still have Thea, or you still have Big Mama, in some of these other homes that are different races that they still follow that traditional path. And
But like
society
you
doesn't have
said
a
though,
lot of influence though.
my I don't mean to interrupt you, but like you said though, ours is completely different from theirs because theirs was able to stay like that. Ours used to
Mhm.
be like that. We used to have grandma and grandpa that stayed together that's been together for 50, 60 years. My
Yeah,
uncle and my auntie, God rest their soul right now, they was together for 60 years,
man.
straight out of high school. So they was 87, you know what I'm saying? So when I say I know it can happen and I see it can happen, because I done had people in my family and people around me that done had a successful marriage. Marriage ain't hard. It's people that make it hard. And
Mm.
I say it
Mm,
like this because
I'm
I
just
say
gonna say,
because it's not.
mm.
It's not. It's a partnership. It's you building a bond with somebody and being successful with somebody. Y'all having the same mindset and the same ideas to go forward for y'all future and your kids' future. It ain't that hard. We have best friends that we've been best friends with for years, but you can't find a woman you can be a best friend with and develop with. You can't find a man you can be a best friend with and develop with. It's not that hard. You choosing the wrong things.
I don't know, Z. I think with marriage, I hear what you're saying, bro, but I feel like when you involve sex, things do get hard and feelings get involved, and it's just a little bit deeper because when marriage comes sexual relations, right? I mean, obviously, it's various relationships. We have sex outside before you get married, but when you're married, sex is the conduit of marriage. I mean, that's what it says biblically, right? You're supposed to wait before you're married to have sex. And so I think when you involve those components because that's a spiritual transaction, and then marriage is a covenant. And so what we went through in our lives and anybody we've laid with, anybody we've connected with, anything that's been happened to us that's negatively, that has impacted our spirit, that's impacted our psychological capacity, that's impacted our heart, that's broken our heart, mended our heart, broken it again, we carry that. So when you have a marriage, you carry that with you to your marriage. And I think a lot of times when it comes to us as a demographic of people, when I'm speaking about Black Americans, we don't have the mental health capacity to address some of the deep rooted issues in which we have. Therefore, when we get into these marriages, we just have all this luggage that we carry with us, but we haven't truly went through our luggage together. And it's okay to bring luggage. I'm not saying that people shouldn't bring luggage. It's okay to bring it, but do we have the capacity to go through everything that we have packed amongst the years with each other and then better understand how to handle issues or handle things going forward? I think you're right. Marriage can be easy, right? But I think the process of marriage is not easy because it's a consistent, it's constant. You have to choose every day that you want to move in a progressional aspect. And that takes work. That's not something that you just gloss over. Like you consistently choose this person every day. You choose to show up for them, and they have to choose. It has to be a two-way street.
I don't but see, this is my problem to that, bro. I get what you're trying to say. It makes it kind of hard. It can be difficult sometimes because yes, you fall in
Yeah,
love, you fall in love, but you still made a choice. You made a vow.
yeah.
And just the same way you can take care of your kid and do everything for your kid, you chose this woman that you had these kids with or you had this relationship with to do that same thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't feel like the sex, I don't feel like the baggage. These are things you learn while you're dating that person before you marry that person. So when you decide to say I do, these are things that you already understand. You've already seen these flags and you chose to walk past these flags because you chose this person. Otherwise, you should have broke up in the break in the relationship when y'all was just dating.
You know what? I hear what you're saying, and I should have prefaced that a little bit better. I don't necessarily think that that's like a main issue, right? I think marriage is a blessing from God. So this is me, yeah, and I always take the spiritual and biblical route. Man, I also try to apply it with scholarly framework, right? So marriage is something that God ordained. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, I believe when you get married, that automatically upsets any adverse force that's not in alignment with the kingdom of God. I automatically think that. So everything could be cool while y'all was dating or y'all was engaged or, doing your thing as boyfriend and girlfriend or fiance and fiance. But as soon as you make that vow and you take that covenant before God, it's almost as if things shift at times. And I've spoken to many married couples, and they have said this. They were like, "Man, everything was straight when we was this dating, but as soon as we got married, it was like a shift took place. Like, man, it was just like this energy of just the first 2 years or the first year or the first 3 or 5 years was just rough. And but we dated for like 5 years or 3 years before then. It's like, dang, well, what shifted? And so what when I think about it, think more about a spiritual aspect that does have an effect on marriage because marriage is something that's ordained by God. He he's given to us. But when we're talking about this conversation about the African American and the black man, the black woman, the Asian man, the Asian woman, to me, and this is just my opinion, I really feel like the reason why the black individuals or the black culture has the highest rate when it comes to divorce and the lowest rate when it comes to being married is simply it's a culturalistic barrier. Like we were discussing. If when we go back to Jim Crow and we go back to segregation, then we move to desegregation and now we're given equal rights, but we have all these systematic barriers that are innovative and being implemented to still keep us stagnant, but really tear down the black household. I think about marriage. I think that's one thing that was definitely attacked. Because you look at Dr. King, he was married. He was considered he was considered one of those pillars when it comes to change. When you think about Malcolm X, he had a significant other. You know what I'm saying? You think about these black leaders that we had. They had a strong black woman attached to them, just like, Barack Obama. He was married. So when you have these staples in our community and you see that they're coupled with a strong wife who can also support them because that's their divine role, is there to be that divine support for the mission and the purpose in which God created for that particular individual. So they have a unique skill set to support him, which is their husband, to reach in that. Why wouldn't I attack it? If my goal is to keep this population down and to never let them truly reach their this place of success, we want to give them success in very specified areas. Why wouldn't I do that? I mean, it makes sense, but we haven't recovered from that, and I really think that I don't even know if we ever will because the way it's looking, we still at the bottom of the barrel, and I hate to use such a negative derogatory term, but we still at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to that, and we don't show no signs of wanting to advance, you know? We don't show signs.
I think we do show signs. I think there's small amounts of us that want to have it, but there's small amounts of us that still keep getting pushed back. I think people want to get married, people want to have love, people want to be with a significant other and a soulmate. That illusion and that light in the tunnel that everybody's looking for, that person that they can ride or die with, that we have in these movies we always watch, the black movies, We want
Yeah.
that, we see that, but it's not as easy to get to that because, like you said, there's been systematic issues, barriers that have been put up against us where the man couldn't be in the household to get money from resources from the government, which you needed because you were so low in the poverty that you couldn't afford to do it by yourselves. Now, with that being said, it's still a partnership. It's still you finding somebody that you can build the partnership with because even though all that systematic barriers are still equivalent today, we are still more educated and we still have more women that are successful and we still have more men that are successful where they can be able to sustain from this. Now, we do still have the city boys and the city girls that want to go out there and have OnlyFans that are doing things differently, but there's still more than enough people I feel like that can have families that are building families together. And I think we're trying to get back to it, but I think it's like you said, it's going to take time. I don't know if it's ever going to be back like it was in the 50s and 40s when we had black families all over in black communities like we used to. I hope
Yeah.
it does get to it. I think there's some communities like that. Like we see them all the time. If you look on Instagram, they say this community has the most black people over here, black successful people over here in
Mhm.
Houston, Dallas, whatever. So I think we're building that back up, like I said, but I think it's gonna take a lot more time. And with all these systematic barriers they keep pushing right now with the government, I think it's gonna be even harder to get some of those things going for us. But on just pure relationships, I feel like it's because we have so many choices right now. And then on top of that, people are able to see many more people. We are able to see more people than we supposed to see. And when I say that, I mean the power of social media allows me to see things that I never would have seen before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm never supposed to see Shaniqua fine ass because she stay out there in Florida. But yeah, I can shoot through the DMs and holler at her. Now I done flew her out here, now I tricked on her. You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
know,
Like,
Zach. I get what you're saying, G. I just feel like the saying that says every generation they get wiser, but they get weaker. I think the attack that which we have to go through I think the attack that's always been on the world population or just people in general is the mind, the psychological threshold. And I believe we get wiser when it comes to like innovative ways and how we do medicine, innovative ways and the technology and all these other things, right? But I definitely think each generation gets weaker psychologically. And I think mental health plays a significant role in marriage outcomes among Black Americans, man. I mean, when you look at the statistics of it and the research of it, it says that hey, mental health is a major significant role in why marriages among Black Americans have a significant factor in way of moving to divorce or moving to actual marriage. There's always a component of a mental health issue, whether it be communication, whether it be emotional intimacy, conflict resolution, parenting effectiveness, financial stability from a stress and burnout aspect, whether it be risk, and the number one
I ain't
thing
gonna
it
lie to you
says,
though.
the number one thing it says insecurity among the Black population, the Black American population is the number one derivative of why it says why the Black American population has the highest level of divorce and the lowest level of marriage.
Insecurity of what?
I don't know. It said insecurity. It
Like,
said relational insecurity. That's what it
what are
said.
we insecure about? Everybody want us.
It said relational insecurity. So I'm guessing within the relationship. I mean, I only could speculate. It didn't really specify. It said relational insecurity is among the highest derivative contributed to Black American population concerning the having the highest rate of divorce and the lowest rate of marriage.
My next take I was gonna say though, which you
Look,
just brought up to me right now, is everything you said, and you said one of the words I'm about to bring up. Everything in there is communication, my bro. And like I
let me
said
see.
earlier, we can
Relational.
communicate to our friends,
Hmm?
but sometimes we can't communicate to our spouses.
Ooh,
And I
ooh,
never
Zack.
understand how you can
Oh, my
communicate so
God.
good to your friend, you can't communicate to your spouses. And if you can communicate to your spouse, a lot of the issues you have won't be issues no more.
Listen.
Financial problems? Hey, baby, we got to talk about these financial issues. This is how we're going to do our banking. This is how we're going to do this. How do you
Oh,
feel about
yeah,
this?
boy.
Talk
You're going
about
to
it
need
like
it.
that. Now we talk about, "Oh, I'm insecure about this, babe. I don't like how you did this." Now it takes her active listening or you active listening to understand what they telling you and respect what they saying. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, just communication in general will make your life so much easier. But it's so hard for us to communicate because we feel like we gotta be the one that's on top and be the one that's telling everybody what to do and hold everything on our shoulders. But if you communicate and actively listen and actively show that you are interested, your relationship could be 110% better. That's my biggest thing in a relationship. If we can't communicate and have a conversation, not no key ha ha, like a real conversation where we get deep with each other, how do you want to raise your kids? How are we gonna parent these kids? We gotta make sure you're on the same page. I don't need you coming behind me when I say do something. I always be coming behind you when you say do something. You feel it? Like communication would solve everything. And that's the problem with us because they took the father and the mother away from the family and the communication. Nobody learned how to communicate with their parents because they never saw their parents do it.
So earlier when we was just talking just a minute ago, I said I feel like, what I'm saying, we had all these major leaders who had a significant other and a wife who supported them to be in their divine role, who they were staples in the Black community. That's why we were doing so well as a Black community, and we had towns, we had our own banks. We were just doing much better. Right. So the statistic I just said relational insecurity. I want to look up what relational insecurity is. Okay. Just listen. It's gonna blow your mind, Zach. It just blew mine. Relational insecurity is a deep seated fear of abandonment, rejection, or unworthiness within a relationship. It often stems from past trauma, unmet childhood needs, or an anxious attachment style. This nervous system responses are triggers of hypervigilance, overthinking, and the constant need for reassurance. Now, hold on. I just read to you. I said, I think mental health is the major key when it comes to Black Americans and having stable marriages. And the data that pulled up said, yes, mental health plays a significant role in marriages and outcomes among Black Americans. Relational insecurity is the number one derivative concerning the Black American population concerning having the highest rate of divorce and the lowest level of marriage. And we just uncovered what
Read the first part back to me again. You said
which one?
the very
Relational.
first when you talking about the relational.
Okay. I'm going back to it. It says now it said relational insecurity is the number one derivative. Now it says relational insecurity is a deep seated fear of abandonment, rejection, or unworthiness within a relationship. It often stems from past trauma, unmet childhood needs, or an anxious attachment style. This nervous system responds to triggers of hypervigilance, overthinking, and the need for constant reassurance.
May
Okay.
I? May I on that?
Can I read the common signs 1 second? Can I read
Go
the
ahead, go
common
ahead, go ahead.
signs? 'Cause this is good. Good topic, Z. Good topic. Man. Okay, so common signs. It says, I think it's catastrophizing, misinterpreting minor shifts in a partner's mood as a sign of the relationship ending. People pleasing. One, over monitoring and emotional distance. Okay, go ahead.
Now back to the first part where you said that first definition. You said what was it again?
Relational insecurity, and that came from the
Relational
data. It said
insecurity.
relational insecurity is the number one derivative that contributes to the Black American population when it comes to the being the number one divorce and the number one of not have of the lowest rate of marriage. It says
Now check
relational
this though.
insecurity is deep-seated fear of abandonment, rejection, and unworthiness within a relationship.
So check how you can break relationship insecurity. Being present, communicating, and allowing the person to know that they are great and that you care about them. That's all it is. Being present, communicating, active listening, and showing them that you are there no matter what.
Think that's easier said than done though, Z, because we have
How?
to think. I mean,
Tell me how it is.
because I'm gonna say this, and I'm looking at this from a completely lens of like community based, like this community of black people. Just like I'm looking at it from a lens of communityness, like oneness and just of a community right now. When I look at that definition, it's so spot on because we just talked about how they put systemic barriers into the household where a specific gender was removed, and therefore other issues surrounding other governmental, policies and other interventions or innovative metrics that were put in place to provide more fear in the black community. You had the crack epidemic. You had this different I won't even say modalities, this different mechanisms. That's the word I want to use. Different mechanisms that truly contributed to breaking down the black community. And when I think about fear of abandonment, rejection, and unworthiness, that's directly with the black community. Look at where most black people live. Look at the conditions of the community. Look at a lot of little boys and little girls who grow up in single parent households wishing that their fathers was there. Look at the rejection aspect of us being in such a negative place. So therefore, when we walk into other places, we feel unwanted because of the rejection. Why are they here? Ugh, they don't meet. They shouldn't be in this store. There's still stores way across town, but we're desegregated. But that's still a systemic barrier, right? Because it's still even present to this day. It's some stores you go into, they give you ugly stares if you black. It's facts. So when I think about this, that's deep rooted in our culture. So when it says relational insecurity, I mean that seed was planted so early on that we have generations where we have to undo all these adverse, really mental health feelings and modalities and adverse feelings when it comes to mental health, like I was saying. I feel like this is a huge mental health thing when it comes to the black community because it doesn't say that Hispanics have a deep relational insecurity. It doesn't say white Americans have a deep relational insecurity, and it damn sure don't say Asian Americans don't. It specifically said Black Americans do. That's the number one derivative.
Chime in, coach.
These other demographics have a different derivative. It said for the white Americans, finances is their number one reason why they divorce over money.
Let me tell you why it don't matter to us like this. Let me tell you why right here. For anybody that's black that live in America and they got parents that are African American, the number one thing they always told you when you step out into this world, they gonna hate you, they don't know you. Don't let that hold you down. Keep your head up high and you walk with your chest out. They gonna watch you everywhere you go. You gotta be 2 to 3 times better than them every time. Why? Because it's always against you. You say, well, why, mama? It don't matter why, baby. They don't like us. So we have to show them every time we step out here that we better than you and we gonna work harder than you. Ain't that what they told us when we was kids?
Yes, they did.
You've been raised to be a warrior since you was a child. I don't want to hear that.
Man,
You
I
been
hear
a
what you're saying, but
Every single
That
black
was
person in
then.
America has been raped. What you mean, then?
That
That's
was
right
then.
now.
But I don't think I'm not a parent saying that. And I got 3 kids. I ain't telling my kids that.
But
Your
guess
head
what?
up. You gotta
Guess
but
what?
no. We live in
It's
different times.
no, we don't.
What
You
I'm
gonna tell me
saying
right
is
now it's different from the '60s?
no, no, from our lens, no, because we were given stories about lynchings. We were given stories about how sundown towns, and hell, we even experienced some of it because some of that was still present, and some of it still is present.
Still present.
But with this generation, like some of these high school kids, these early college kids, they don't know none of that because they never experienced it.
That's
They
because
have
we don't
experienced,
teach it to them no more. That's what I was talking about when we
but
talking about the
but
parents
it's
of the
been
alpha and stuff.
yeah.
We the parents that we ain't teaching them because we think everything all good and daisy. But when we look over here and see what Trump doing, ain't shit good and daisy.
I would agree.
We is letting these kids down by not understanding what they actually stepping into.
But
This shit
also
ain't
though,
changed. This shit the
but
same.
but also though, see, and I will say this as a man who has children, I'm married now, but beforehand I wasn't. And I have kids with an S. So I didn't even model what I'm saying right now is the foundational pillar of what's needed in a black community to adhere to these adverse statistics that we're talking about. I contributed to relational insecurity because I wasn't always in the household. I wasn't always around. I'm pretty sure I contributed to abandonment. I'm pretty
Mm,
sure I contributed to rejection. I'm pretty sure I contributed to unworthiness in some type of aspect. But
that's deep.
I'm just
That's
being
deep.
honest.
Saying it's
I
deep.
was
That's
not
deep.
there all the time. So I'm pretty sure that some type of way has impacted even my own kids in some aspect. And then to witness, now, oh, well, now daddy's married. Well, now I'm doing it backwards. I'm trying to teach you what stability, unconditional love, conflict resolution. Now I'm trying to teach you that, but you didn't live damn near 17 years of your life.
But see, this is one thing though. And not to get us off topic of the marriage and stuff, because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
really
yeah,
getting
yeah,
deep
yeah,
into
yeah,
this
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, no,
Because
we are. We are.
it's never too old to teach an old dog new tricks.
You're right.
It's always good to learn something. So maybe you wasn't able to do it then, but now you showing them this is what it's like to be a man. This is what it's like to have somebody in your back and got your back all the time. This is what
Mm.
it's like for you look for a partner. This is what your partner should be doing. This is how you love your partner. This is how you cater to your partner. You know what I'm saying? You're doing those things now.
Man, the conversation was getting good. Man, we was having a good old funky conversation. Hey, but I had to cut this short. So you got to come back and catch part 2. So on part 2, you'll hear the rest of this conversation, which is real interesting. Now, on the way out, if you guys want to send us mail, you want to send us partnership agreements, anything you want to collaborate with Gemstone Podcast, you can almost email us at gemstonepodcast@gmail.com. That's gemstonepodcast@gmail.com. But for you to catch this part 2, guess what you got to do? Subscribe to the podcast. So go ahead and subscribe to our podcast, which you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Amazon Podcasts, and Pandora Podcasts. All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. Peace.